Today, the Nissan Skyline GTR is so fundamentally baked into the fabric of automotive enthusiasm that it's hard to imagine a time before its iconic boxy shape stirred up emotion and nostalgia the way it does today. But for Nissan in the mid-80s, the reality was that of underperformance, both on the track and in the sales charts. The marque was floundering and desperately needed to revive its image, and they saw motorsport as their best shot. This is the story of Godzilla, the Nissan R32 Skyline GTR. The GTR badge has a rich history in motorsport. The first car to wear a GTR badge, the Nissan 2000 GTR, was introduced in 1969. Powered by a 2-litre inline-6 capable of producing 160 horsepower, the car was a racing success, winning 33 races in its short 18-month racing career. As it turns out, racing pedigree is a great way to sell a sports car, and that's exactly what they did, with nearly 2,000 GTRs being sold, alongside a much larger number of more pedestrian Nissan 2000s, of course. The success buoyed Nissan and prompted work to begin on a replacement for the 2000 GTR. The second generation would be powered by a similar 2-litre inline-6 to its predecessor, and would come with such sporty features as disc brakes on both the front and rear of the car. It was introduced in 1973, right in time for the 70s oil crisis, which saw demand for sporty cars fall straight through the Earth's crust, and so therefore unsurprisingly, the second generation of the GTR was a sales disaster, with production ending after only 197 cars had been made. The GTR badge wouldn't return for over a decade. In that decade, Nissan's cars grew docile and undesirable, a fact reflected by falling sales and waning interest. By the mid-1980s, the company was suffering financially and desperately needed a change in direction and philosophy to survive. Enter Yutaka Kume, the new president of Nissan as of 1985. Kume had worked at Nissan since 1946 and had worked his way up through the ranks from a plant engineer all the way to the presidency. He clearly had a deep passion for the company, but wasn't blind to the peril it was in. Things needed to change. He had seen Nissan's predicament before. His father was a businessman Kume described as unsuccessful. He believed his father's business failed because he had lost sight of the customers, and he saw the same thing happening at Nissan. He initiated a cultural shift within the company, breaking down the barriers between the many echelons of managers and emphasizing innovation and customer focus. He saw that after a decade of stagnation, the company's reputation amongst customers was at an all-time low. They had become synonymous with boring, boxy cars built without passion or really much thought at all. Kume knew this had to change, and in a move almost unprecedented for a car maker in trouble, he decided their best bet at revitalizing their image was winning races. Project 901 was born. Its goal? To have a Nissan badge on the best performing cars in the world within 5 years. 1985 would see Nissan return to the Japanese Touring Car Championship, with a new car fit for the new regulations. The JTCC had replaced the Group 5 regulations, for which Nissan had run the bonkers Skyline Super Silhouette in the early 80s, now requiring competitors to build their racing cars around existing mass production road cars as per the regulations of Group A. This meant competing became less expensive and winning became a much more potent sales pitch. It was an opportunity Nissan couldn't refuse. But the R30 Skylines Nissan were running weren't winning, being beaten in 1985 by everyone from Honda and Toyota to BMW and Volvo. Not what Nissan needed to turn things around. That same year, 1985, Nissan would introduce the Skyline R31 for the road. On the outside, it didn't look like much, with familiar and forgettable boxy design, but under the skin, it was a very different beast. The R31 was the first Skyline powered by an RB series inline-6, available as either a 2 or 3 litre, but the R31 saw much more than an engine upgrade. Hi-Cast, standing for High Capacity Active Steering, was Nissan's brand new proprietary four-wheel steering system. It was first introduced on the R31 Skyline. Nissan Motorsport, better known as Nismo, first took the R31 racing in the JTCC in 1986, where it won the first race of the season, and by the skin of its teeth, managed the championship overall. But the success proved hard to replicate, as the next couple of years saw Nissan roundly beaten in Group A by the Ford Sierra and the BMW 635. The R31 just couldn't keep up. They needed something new. If you're enjoying the video so far, tap the like button. It really helps the video out. Thanks. Thanks to the innovation fostered within Nissan through Project 901, this new generation of Skyline had the potential to be something truly special. So special, in fact, it would be the first time in 15 years that a Skyline could be purchased with a GTR badge. Introduced in 1989, the R32 Skyline GTR was a coming together of years of work. It boasted the innovative high-cast system of the R31, as well as an all-wheel drive system created in the mid-80s for a cancelled supercar called the Nissan Mid-4. The RB26 engine had been refined, with the 2.6-litre inline-6 built to handle well over 500 horsepower in racing spec and producing a little over 310 horsepower in the road car. Though of course this was underreported as 276 horsepower, courtesy of the Japanese manufacturer's gentleman's agreement being honoured at the time. This wasn't a car built for going to the shops. It was designed from the ground up for one single purpose: to dominate Group A racing. Nissan had learned from a Porsche 959 that they had bought and torn apart that all-wheel drive was clearly the way to build a car aiming for the top. But the 959 didn't drive the way a touring car should. The front wheels being powered at all times led to more frequent understeer and left the car struggling on corner exits when in the hands of Nissan's test drivers. This left Nissan with only one option. They needed to reinvent all-wheel drive. What they came up with, the Ateze ETS system, was groundbreaking. To oversimplify it a bit, it allowed the car to send all of its power to the rear wheels until the point at which the rear wheels began to lose grip. Then, the front wheels would take some of the power to pull the car out of trouble. In combination with the high-cast four-wheel steering system, Nissan had a potent secret sauce, and nobody was prepared. Nismo first took the R32 racing in the JTCC in 1990, where it won every single race that it entered, taking the championship totally by surprise. The following year was equally as astonishing. Yet again, every single race entered by an R32 was won by an R32. Then again in 1992 and 93, Nissan had taken 29 wins in 29 starts and won JTCC 4 years in a row. This was a magnitude of domination not just rare to sports car racing, but in any form of sport. The success instantly made Nissan and the R32 the pinnacle of Japanese performance, creating an almost mythical reputation both domestically and abroad. And speaking of abroad, Japan wasn't the only place the Nissan Skyline R32 laid waste to. The GTR won the 24 Hours of Spa, and even set a production car lap record at the Nürburgring, making it the fastest car around a track that money could buy. Nismo took it to Australia too in 1990 to compete in the Australian Touring Car Championship, where yet again it uprooted the order, beating the reigning Ford Sierra and winning the championship 3 years in a row, including victories at the Bathurst 1000 in 1991 and 1992. This total annihilation of the competition is what inspired the Australian press to nickname the car Godzilla, after the city-stomping Japanese monster. A name equally funny and valid, and it stuck. The R32 was so dominant in Australia thanks in large part to the Ateze system that demands were made that it be excluded from competition, resulting in the creation of a new class to spare the Fords and Holdens from even more defeat at the hands of Godzilla. Nissan had achieved what it had set out to achieve, and likely even surprised themselves. Within less than a decade, the company had gone from making uninspiring, slow boxes to the most desirable sports cars of its day, saving the company from near certain bankruptcy and cementing its legacy into the hearts and minds of car enthusiasts the world over. YouTube thinks you'll love this video if you enjoyed today's story. Hit the like button if you think I should do a follow-up video about the R33. Thanks for watching, and until next time, goodbye.